Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods, and now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, we've had 3 shows in a row all about education.
Yes.
Moore County schools, the Montessori school. It's not a coincidence, not a small coincidence that we have, because there's so much focus.
Yeah, there's so much focus on school right now.
In our area, on schools and such. During this year of the pandemic, having the schools on, they've been challenged.
Everybody's been challenged, but I think they've had the biggest challenge.
And retailers, they've been challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Restaurant owners. So it's
the year to think creatively.
Yeah, 2020 is a year we're all going to remember. But there are a couple of things about 2020 that there have actually been some very good things that have come out of it. It's forced business owners to think outside the box.
It's forced everybody to think outside the box.
Yeah, and students who are learning from home and going to school 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. The personal responsibility they've picked up is higher than it would normally be in a structured school environment where they have to, everything is done for them and thought out for them. Mm-hmm. Now they have to be more independent.
Oh, yeah.
2020 also, I think, has brought up one of the demographic shifts that we talk about so much in Moore County, and we're going to focus today on senior citizens, the civic generation, and I guess just below. Mm-hmm. People here in Moore County are sometimes looking to downsize. Mm-hmm. They're looking to consolidate, and they're in good health, or they're in so-so health, but they don't want to move into either assisted living or any sort of a care facility if they can help it. And a lot of the people who live here have family, but they don't live here in Moore County. So we've got a whole portion of our generation, of the generations here that are on their own, but sometimes might need some assistance. And this year, especially with the health risk being more severe for senior citizens, we have a chance today to speak with the owners of HomeChoice Network, which is a home care agency located in Aberdeen in Magnolia Square. Now you tell people who move here, well, where's Magnolia Square? Well, it's very easy because we used to say it's right opposite the Sears building. But today, what's the name of that car wash that was just put on the corner? I have to ask you both.
Tidal Wave Car Wash.
Yeah.
It's our landmark.
That's it. It's become the new landmark. That used to be the Applebee's location. Mm-hmm. And I have the privilege to be speaking with owners today, Mike Ianucilli and Veronica Sanchez, who are running, it's a licensed agency, and we want to talk about what HomeChoice Network is, what it isn't, what the differences might be in their business model. And Moore County is a very fertile area for the type of business that you're doing, because as much as we talk on this show about the young families moving into town and the kids and the schools expanding, there's a generation of people living in Moore County that have been here since the 1960s and even before. So you're focusing on that end of the spectrum as opposed to the educational end.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. How long has HomeChoice Network been in business? And first I want to say good morning, Veronica.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you guys.
And good morning, Mike. And thanks for coming to do this. I had an occasion to meet one of the gentlemen that work with you who came in my office the other day with the cutest, niftiest calendar that... And I think everyone today is so happy to get a calendar that says 2021.
Yes.
So they can erase everything that says 2020.
Yeah.
So you started the business when?
We started the business since 2003.
2003.
Yes. And those calendars that you mentioned is kind of a signature for us because it has been a tradition. We have been distributing those for years now in the community.
Yeah. Back in 2003, Moore County was a different place than it is today in 2020 in terms of the demographics.
Totally, yes.
Right? But at the time that you started, we had I think the average age, well, you will know better than I will, the average age in Moore County in 2003 versus 2020, it has gotten younger, has it not?
Substantially. When we first started, the median age was right around 38. And now it's down to something like 29, 30. And that's a substantial shift in a median age for any.
It is a big shift. It's that young? It's that...
Really? If you take a look, the biggest demographic change is in children that are preschool right now.
Yeah, I agree. And that's been a lot of the focuses of our shows this year. Big picture, tell me what HomeChoice Network does. What's your mission statement? What services do you provide? And how do you provide them?
Wow, those are a lot of questions.
Well, we can just take them one by one.
Okay, well, what we are a licensed home care agency, and our mission is the same as our tagline, is independence for seniors and peace of mind for families.
Yeah.
And you had touched on this when you first started the introduction, is that people retire here, but they don't have immediate family, anyone near.
Right.
And we kind of make up that difference by being not only the service provider, but the ears and the eyes of what's going on. One of the hallmarks of our agency is that we have low turnover rates for our associates, which means if you have a caregiver or caregivers, chances are really good you're going to get the same one day in and day out. Mm-hmm. And that's important because what we know about each other sitting around this table in the studio is what we see. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're having a good day. You don't know if I'm having a bad day. Mm-hmm. But if we see each other every day, we do.
Right.
And that's extremely important in what we do. And Veronica, you can address where we give services and how.
We provide services any place people call home. We're going to private homes, retirement communities, nursing homes, hospitals, any place people need the assistance, we're there. And we can... we can cover any schedules that people need. I mean, it can be morning, evening, overnights, weekends, whatever is your need, we're going to fit on it. One of the things about we are licensed home care agency, what it means is that you're protected, that if something doesn't go the way that you expected, you have the state behind you who can make sure that you can cover in any issues that you may have. We've been audited by them, and we can say that we don't have any deficiencies since then, and also we're going above and beyond the standards of the state.
So, and what about the insurance implications for the services you provide?
Okay, insurance implications are fairly limited right now. We are not covered by Medicaid or Medicare, but we are by long-term care insurance policies. I think currently we are providing service to policyholders for 14 different companies. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, we're also a preferred provider for the Department of Aging. They have a grant for both personal care and respite care being the caregiver needs time away from the person that's receiving the care. And we go in and we allow them, sometimes it's as much as going to another room and reading a book or going to the beauty shop pre-pandemic, it used to be going out of the house, but now it's just, it's just helping a break, someone else to burden the responsibility while we're there. As I said, part of what we also do is we have workers' comp. You don't have to be aged to receive our services. A good example would be you're in an automobile accident and you're 25 years old and living on your own.
Right.
But you've banged up your knee and you can't drive. Well, how do you get to therapies? How do you cook your meals? Any number of things. And our youngest client has been 4 months. Our oldest client
is that right?
Has been 102.
So the perception, that I would have as a layman is that just by the name HomeChoice Network, I would automatically associated with seniors. But what you just said, I had no idea about.
Mm-hmm.
You have a great brochure where you talk about some of the services, nutritional services, companionship, personal services. It could run the gambit from standby bathing assistance, oral hygiene reminders, medication reminders, transportation, clerical work, paperwork, which is very important, housekeeping, and personal care. And there's under each category you have a lot of subtitles.
Right.
So it's very descriptive, and it does seem to be a soup to nuts type service that you provide. So it's intuitive. It's not overly wordy. It's a nice. Whoever did this, it's a very nice visual. You did.
I did.
Mike, you get credit. It actually makes it very simple and easy. Sometimes people over-explain things, right?
I think what we do is that the easiest way to wrap your head around it is that whatever's necessary to remain in your home,
Yeah.
we provide that service. It can be from, changing the litter box, walking the dog, to, what do I need to be able to be totally cared for in bed if I'm bedridden and can't get out. The other thing that we do is we work very closely. We work hand in glove with hospice. And if a person is at that point in their life and they bring hospice services in, we integrate and coordinate our care with them so that it's seamless. And we try to make sure nothing ever falls through the cracks for that person or that family.
Right.
The other beauty for
Veronica?
this is we have minimum of 3 hours of service, and the people can schedule at any time. It has to be 3 continuous hours, by
Okay.
the way. But if for any reason, knocking on wood, the person is sick and they need to go to the hospital, and then when they come back, they need around-the-clock services, we can provide that. And we can stay there until they feel better and then go back to the regular schedule. Or we have a couple, a husband and wife, that if one is ill and the other one needs assistance for a day or two until the other person come back, we can provide that. So we are just one phone call away that we have a real person answer the phone and we can make things happen. We're very responsive and attentive, and we're right there when they need us.
Right, and adding to what Veronica was saying about a real person, we don't use an answering service. The person who answers the phone after business hours has the authority to make something happen. It's a full employee that part of their responsibility is if somebody needs service or an adjustment to service in the middle of the night, they make it happen as soon as possible.
Tell me a little bit about the service providers that you have. What's your vetting process? Because they are the extension of your company, and they're the people that are in the home. And I ask you for a very specific reason. Unfortunately, there's a lot of distrust.
Definitely.
And misperceptions about home care services, and people read too much, misinformation, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's not misinformation. You know where I'm going with this, because this has to come up, especially if there's a family living in Michigan and their mother or their father is living here independently. The trust issue becomes a very, very strong issue when families or children of the people are trying to make decisions.
Well, I think maybe the best way to answer this is just walk through the hiring process.
Yeah.
And the first thing is that pre-pandemic, I'm hoping we can go back to a normal environment.
Right.
But pre-pandemic, you had to come to the door to fill out an application.
Right.
We wanted to see you.
Right.
And we didn't even start with an application. We started with an interest form, because if you didn't present well, it didn't go beyond that point. Then we would call you back. And part of that interest form is we wanted to know the hours and days you were available to work. And that would get you in the door. Now, whether you fill it out online or you come to the door, beyond this point, the process is the same. And the first thing we do is we go through a 3-page interview set of questions. Every applicant is asked those questions because over the years I've been engaged in long-term care since 1983.
Okay.
And have found that there's a pattern that you respond to these. There's no right or wrong answer as a single answer. However, in a pattern, one pattern would indicate that you will meet success if you join us. The other one is there's a high probability that you won't. So that's the first filter.
Okay.
Then we do criminal background, DMV, and we do a nurse registry check because what that does, if you've had any medical finding for any reason or complaint in the state, it's logged there. And that gives us a good background. We do 3 business and 3 personal references. Now that gets you in the door. Then we do the onboarding. That's the first part of the training. And that's the usual, here's what the expectations are, the dress code, how you're paid, your holidays, all the things that you need to do, how to fill out your, complete your documentation, etc. Then you go to the clinical side. Now, clinical side is really important. I mean, that is performed by a registered nurse. You either pass or you wash out. It's kind of like flight training. There's no redo. And the reason for that is that it's not like in a facility where you can walk down the hallway and ask the supervisor, I didn't quite understand what's expected of me. Because you're in the person's home, in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't demonstrate that to us in a controlled environment, we're not comfortable with you doing that out in the field independently. Right. So then part of what we're doing is we're matching your personality during the training and taking notes on, are you talkative? Are you quiet? Do you have, like bubbly? Are you serious? I mean, because then we try to match that with the client. So we do that. You're also given, every quarter you have training. It's mandatory. Mm-hmm. We just had one last Saturday that was our annual with body mechanics, and we had it at the pavilion at the Aberdeen Parks and Recreation because we had to social distance, be outside, and wear a mask. But also with that, we have the nurse will visit unannounced once every 90 days. And the reason for that is, I use the example, if you say you're coming to my house on Saturday, it's going to look a lot different than if you don't let me know you're coming. Mm-hmm. So we want to see that as, it's spontaneous and it's what you are paying for is what you are getting. Yeah. And the last thing is, also every 90 days, we randomly pull caregivers from the field for a safety committee meeting. Yeah. And that also helps direct what our training is going to be.
All right. I have that was a great expose. Okay. I have a couple of questions I want to ask you about what you said, but we're going to do that in the second set. We're out of time on this set. We're speaking with the owners of HomeChoice Network in Aberdeen, Veronica Sanchez and Mike Ianucilli. I got your name right, didn't I?
Yes, you did, and you are one of the few and unique people in Moore County.
There you go. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our second set. Our conversation today is all about the company in Aberdeen called HomeChoice Network. My Life, My Way is their slogan. They're a home care agency that does not just cater to seniors, but to people of all ages for many different reasons in a time of need. Mike, you were talking in the last set about the vetting process. The people that you hire. And Veronica, he mentioned something about the clinical side of the interview process, and I don't know what that meant. Mm-hmm. Could you explain that to me?
Sure. Okay. By the way, all the caregivers receive the same training.
Okay.
And on the clinical part, we basically focus on the personal care provided to the clients. So it's bloodborne pathogens, body mechanics, and they have to demonstrate to the nurse who they are capable to do transferring, toileting, bathing, dressing with the safety precautions.
Okay. So the people that you hire are not necessarily nurses. They don't have a background in nursing.
No, we have all different type of backgrounds.
Sure.
So the beauty of this is when I was working in a retirement community, I was having a lot of people coming through the door who they were CNAs. And the market is really big for them. If they don't like something in one retirement community, they can go to another one the next day and they have a job. So I was a little tired of it, and I want to have a company where I was able to hire whoever I feel that it will be a good person, good heart, have the compassion and the drive to do this type of job, and somebody who could be dependable,
Right.
who they will do what they say they will do. So when we started, that was the way it was. Most of our caregivers have like experiences.
Okay.
And you can see it was a 75-year-old. It was a caregiver in high heels in Walmart. So our backgrounds that we have with us, we have financial advisors, we have nurses, we have retired teachers, we have
People from all walks of life.
right. Definitely. But people who they are mostly retired and they want to give back something to the community. They don't make this for a living. It's just an extra income and make them feel good with themselves.
You answered the question I was going to ask you, and that was, what's the litmus test or what's the common denominator that you look for in the people that you hire?
I think it's 3 words.
Yeah.
The 3 words, attributes we look for is ability, commitment, and above all, compassion.
Compassion. So it's not people that are doing it strictly for financial gain, but
No.
they're doing it because they want to give back too.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that is what I was trying to get a handle on. So as intuitive as your brochure is, and Mike, we've given him credit for doing it.
Yes.
So now I'm going to ask you a question about the fee schedules. Is it as intuitive when you sit down with people in the
Yes,
interview
sometimes it
process?
is.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. It's really easy. We only have 2 fee schedules.
Okay.
If it's companion and home helper, meaning we do not have to physically touch the client to provide the service, that's a differentiator for personal care,
Okay.
is that it's $18.95 an hour.
Very
If
reasonable.
it's personal care, it's $1 more. It's $19.95 an hour.
And that is if they have 3 hours of continuous services or more. But if the client needs 12 hours of continuous services, then the prices will drop for $1.50 in each category.
And we have one other category that if we have to take care of, say, both couples in the house, both spouses, is the second one's only $3.50 an hour.
Sure. That makes sense. Okay.
And now, then let me just tell you, for people who they have long-term care insurance, they have to submit paperwork to their insurance. We do all that work for them without extra charge. We take care of that in a weekly basis, in a bi-weekly or monthly, whatever is the need that they have.
Okay. Your referral network has to be strong to be in business and to be successful over 16 or 17 years. You have to get word-of-mouth referrals that certainly would trump the brochures and people just kind of walking off the street. Is that accurate?
Word of mouth is the strongest, obviously, referral in any business.
Right.
But in the last 7 to 8 years, it's mostly been internet-based.
Okay. So on your website, so people will find you on the website and start that process
Right.
with
and,
you then?
and the Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, referrals, it's rare we get a person who is calling for themselves. It's usually an adult child calling for their parent.
Okay.
But we have some smart people who they come and says, I am not getting younger and I want to be prepared and I want to know about your services. So we have some of them too.
How many, what kind of a staff do you have right now?
Well, pre-pandemic, this has changed everybody's business. We would really stay between 80 and 90, and now we're down to about 60.
80 or 90?
Caregivers.
Oh, my goodness, that many?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when do you guys sleep?
It depends. No.
80 to 90 caregivers?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. I had no idea.
No, and we're and the reason we're down is Veronica said before, people this is a legally and politically correct statement, have years of life experience behind them.
Right.
They're in a cohort that if they would contract COVID, there is a very high probability of serious consequences.
Right.
And they have opted not to work until something is, deemed safe to come back again. And we honor that and respect it. If they want to be on the sidelines until, this is determined it's safe to come back out and work, if we're out there to help other people, how could we not, honor that for our associates?
Okay. Mike, I'll start this question with you and then ask Veronica the same question. You mentioned that you've been in this industry since 1983. Can you tell me a little bit about your background in the industry? And by the way, how did you get to Moore County at the same time?
Okay, well, they kind of go together. I was a teacher, government and history, and I lived in a place called Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they had International Harvester, which is a UAW, 10,000 employees. It moved. I was in line to be a principal, and they started closing schools, so I couldn't be a principal.
Gotcha.
And I knew that I wanted to do something that had, I thoroughly loved teaching, but something had more responsibility. And I looked around and I saw that the demographic shift was just starting for seniors, and this would be a good way to give back. I worked for a company as a nursing home administrator in Indiana. The CEO came to North Carolina and recruited me.
Huh.
And that's how I came down here. I was the administrator for St. Joseph for about 10 years.
Gotcha.
And this was in 89 when I started. Loved it down here, and other business opportunities with retirement communities took me to Winston-Salem, where I met Veronica.
You met Veronica in Winston-Salem?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Oh, well, I was the executive director for a retirement community, and she was the business office director and the HR director. 2 hats.
So, Veronica, you were based in Winston-Salem
Yes.
before you moved to Moore County.
Right.
And tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to this position and why Moore County.
Sure. I am originally from Mexico City, and I studied business administration. And when I moved in here, I started working in a retirement community in Winston-Salem.
Okay.
I started working as a wait staff because my English, I thought it was good, but it was not.
It's perfect. Don't worry.
So the residents got me on their wing. They really treat me really well. I was the first Hispanic person that they have. And even one of the family members was offering to give me some personalized classes in English. Mm-hmm. And the company gave them free meal every time that they would come to visit their father and give me classes. She was having free meals from the company, so the company was helping me out a lot on that. So through that, after being a wait staff, I was the dining room supervisor.
Okay.
Then I become business office director assistant for 3 communities.
Okay.
Then I become the business office for the 3 offices, and then they decide to have one for each community because it was really a lot of work. It was a mistake for them to try to make 3 positions in one. And I came back to the original facility where I started. So it was really nice. I enjoyed a lot. The residents were very lovable. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was pregnant. I have my son, Kevin. And it was unbelievable the way that they were caring for me and they were checking on me. I was a little sick at that time also, kind of the end. And I really enjoy to be working with them and so be so personalized. So when I was working in the business office, then I met Mike. We didn't have an executive director for probably 8 months. So I was kind of running the company, and I wasn't not that happy to have an ED now because I didn't want to respond to another person. Pretty much everybody was responding to me. But when I met him and I started working with him, we enjoyed it. It was also kind of funny because I happened to have access, obviously, for the predictive index. Is a test that you do when you're going to be hired to a company. And I read mine and I read him, and we're the same.
Okay.
You know, maybe in a different way, but essentially we were kind of the same. Okay. And I showed him mine, and he was making fun of it. And I said, well, just laugh as much as you want to, but let me show you this one. So he was like, oh.
So, and this was way back in after 2000?
No, that was about 99, 2000, yeah.
Uh-huh.
What was the name of the company in Winston-Salem that you were with?
Heritage Woods.
Okay.
It was a Kisco Care retirement community.
I knew one. I am familiar with one called Arbor Acres.
Yes,
I believe,
yeah.
which is a large facility that a friend of
Yeah.
mine who had actually worked here at Phoenix Village had moved up there
Yeah.
into a position.
Yeah.
And it's a small town, and everyone seems to know everybody else, and it's incestuous actually, but not in a bad way. So. You guys got on the same page. Is HomeChoice Network, is it a franchise? Or
No.
Nope, it's not.
It's
No.
not.
No.
Okay.
No, we developed an infrastructure over 2 years before we opened it,
Okay.
so that when we opened, we wouldn't have to invent and improvise as we moved, but we'd be able to flesh out a structure, and it really served us well doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're independent business owners, and you get to basically set the table and set the tone and the tenor for the business, the philosophy,
Yes.
and the way you project to the public.
Right.
So there's a great freedom in that, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. And by the way, we were working in Kisco Senior Living, is the one who owns all the retirement communities where we work. I was having training to become an executive director, so I went to California to have the training and everything. And when I resigned, it was really nice because they told me, you know what, it was not a waste of money because we know that whatever you do, you're going to be helping seniors, and that's the goal.
Right. Dorothy, so here's what I've got from our second set. We have Mike's head and his intellect. We have Veronica's heart and passion, right? You put those together, you heat it up, and what you get is a great combination. And that credibility seems to come out loud and clear.
Thank you.
We're going to come back in the third set, speaking about some of the specific services about what a HomeChoice Network offers. So if people who are listening can hopefully make some informed choices. And I'd love to go through what the interview process is, what that looks like for people and for family members who are coming from out of state before they make a decision to sign on with the HomeChoice Network. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our final set today with All Things Moore County, speaking with the owners of HomeChoice Network, Veronica Sanchez and Mike Ianucilli. I've enjoyed listening to both of you speak about the program. Can you talk to me about, you mentioned the internet and Facebook as people will find you on the website to start the conversation. But can you walk me through how getting started with the agency looks, what it looks like?
Well, the first thing is when someone reaches out to us, we, obviously are responsive, and we respond even if, routinely after business hours or on weekends.
Yeah.
But what we need to do is, the first thing we have to do is if it's possible, is a face-to-face.
Right.
And we usually go to the place we're going to provide services. And we want to have eyes on, and so that with the person who's going to receive the services, first of all, see if it's appropriate, to make sure that, we are capable of providing those services that are going to enhance their independence and, above all, keep them safe.
Right.
But if a person's beyond our capabilities, we are the first to say that this is something, we can refer you to another agency that can provide higher level of skill service, but it's just not a good fit for ours. Then we go through the admission process if we proceed that far. And the questions you've asked us during this program, that conversation usually takes place with the client and their family members. They ask the same questions, that you did. And if they decide it's a good fit and we decide it's a good fit, then we proceed with the admission process, which is the boilerplate things that, this is HIPAA. We have to have the right to privacy. We have to sign those documents. And since we're a licensed agency, we go over what your rights are that are guaranteed you under the state. We do a safety inspection of the premises to make sure that, and again, this is not, we're telling you how to live your life, but we're just making suggestions that this would enhance the service if you did these minor things. Removing a throw rug in the entrance to the bathroom, handrails, maybe getting a riser for the commode, any number of things that's going to provide delivery of service. Then what do you like? When do you get up? How do you prefer to be bathed? What type of food do you like? How do you want it prepared? When do you eat? All the things, we are there not to change your lifestyle. We're there to enhance it. And that's how we flow through with that process. No two admissions are the same.
Right. Veronica, do you go to that first visit yourself?
Yes.
Okay, both of you will do this?
Both of us. And if personal care is involved, the nurse will come with us too.
The nurse will come with you?
Yeah.
But at that point, you haven't assigned a caregiver yet, correct?
Exactly.
So then it's sort of like a dating service. You try to figure out the right person, who's the right fit. Right. How's your proficiency on that? Pretty good?
It is really good because it's a team effort. So we discuss, we communicate all of that with our schedulers, and then we look about the days and the times that people want the services because we want to make sure we fit their needs, and we come up with caregivers who they could be the best fit, or a caregiver. It just depends. If it's a person who wants services Monday, Wednesday, and Friday would be one caregiver. If it's a person who wants 24 hours care 7 days a week, it will be about 6 or 7 people, just because the schedule and they don't have to hit the 40 hours each individual. So, but it is a continuous schedule. They will be seeing the same people, and they will get to know all of them.
Right.
And the other thing, we pride ourselves on the fact, and this is shared with the family members and the client at the time of admission, is that for any reason that you are unhappy or feel uncomfortable with that caregiver, you call and, don't give us a reason. We will, as soon as we have a replacement, we will put someone, to fit that schedule. You have to look at it this way. You've met people in your life. When you first met them, you thought they're really wonderful. And 6 months later, you're slapping yourself in the forehead saying, what did I ever see in them?
Right.
And it's a growth process, and we're aware of that. And as I said, we've always said our goal is that you're comfortable. We do not want to have you not feel comfortable or alter your lifestyle because we're in the house. We're there to enhance that.
Yeah.
And then we consider that we have 2 sets of clients. One is the actual client, and then the other is the caregiver. If one of them they're uncomfortable, we switch them. I mean, the caregiver also can request to be switched for the assignment because any reason.
Sure.
So the thing is, we try to get a win-win situation when the client is looking forward to receive the caregiver.
Right. Just curious, you mentioned pre-pandemic you have 80 or 90 caregivers at any one time. Over the years, do you have a good rate of retention? Do you have a big turnover with your staff?
No, actually, the last couple of years, the state hasn't asked for those data points, but we used to have to turn in over our turnover every year. And the reason why, and they would publish it for all of the licensed home care agencies, and it was running on average 80 to 90%.
That's pretty high.
And that's not meaning that if you have 100 employees, 100 leave. If you have 100 budgeted slots, you filled them, through the course of the year once. We were running about 21, 22%.
Okay. There's so many people in our world today, in our economy today, that have an entrepreneurial spirit, independent contractors. And they go out and they either work from home or I know a lot of people who just kind of work on their own, providing home care and this and that. What is the difference between working with you all who are licensed versus somebody who is not licensed? And what does the licensing entail, and what protections does that give the public?
Well, we just entered into about a 4-hour discussion, but in brief.
In 4 minutes.
Okay, if you're licensed, you have performance standards and you're surveyed and audited by the state.
Okay.
So in order to be licensed, you have to present your business plan, your budget, so that you're not going to go in and start and go out of business in 2 weeks. The other thing is that to make it really work as an independent contractor, first of all, I want to be very careful in what I say here. There's wonderful independent contractors out there. They give their heart
Sure.
and soul and provide excellent service.
Sure.
The problem is what the name implies. They're an independent contractor. If they're sick,
Yeah.
if they want to go somewhere and relocate, then who do you turn to? They're gone.
No backup.
The other one is that insurability. Because we employ everybody fully, they have not only liability insurance and they're bonded, but they have full workers' comp coverage.
Right.
And as you said, there's a redundancy built in that, wow, I can pick up the phone with HomeChoice Network and call in the middle of the night and say, I need someone.
Right.
And there's going to be someone. Or on the other hand, the caregiver calls in and says, my child's sick, or I have a toothache, or you can name the reason, legitimate reason. We have a backup.
Mm-hmm.
And taxes. Taxes.
Yeah. Oh, and we also, now under the new tax law, if you pay over $600 a year, that person becomes your employee and you are required to do withholding taxes or pay taxes for that service. We take care of all that.
Okay. Do you spend a lot of time speaking in person with the children of the people that are trying to hire you? Do they call you? Do you have interviews with them?
Yes, we talk to them on the phone, and
Right.
we can meet in Zoom, whatever is preferred. Or if when we're going to the mom's or dad's home, they can be on the phone too to answer any questions that they may have.
Okay.
Again, I always go back to this pre-pandemic, they were usually there, in person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. 16, 17 years doing this, you have to be able to reflect on some good success stories, things that reinforce the reason you're doing what you do. Can you share any of that with us?
I think there's one that it always stands out for us is that we were recording testimonials, and I asked for the right for editorial review. And I get a call, and they said, I think you need to listen to this. And my first thought was, oh, this may not be good.
Right.
And it was a client that we'd had for probably at that time, 7, 8 years, and we still have her. It's going on probably 10, 11 years. Is that she said, I want you to know that I don't have a caregiver. I have a friend that comes and sees me. Mm-hmm. I share things with her that I don't even share with my family.
Right.
And that really encapsulated everything we wanted, because that's how we want you to feel when that person is there.
Right. So then I could imagine that a lot of friendships develop between the caregivers and their clients over time, and they become genuine friends. Mm-hmm. What percentage of the people that you service are seniors versus, because we've focused on that, but there are people, like you said, who could have a knee injury and they need some help at home in their 20s or 30s.
That fluctuates because most of our senior clients are long-term. And if it's usually for workers' comp or post-rehab, they come and go after about 5 or 6 weeks. But at any given time, we maybe have 3 or 4 on the roster that are, the short end. Like I said, leading up to our interview, our youngest has been 2 months. And that was parents were deployed. And it wasn't supposed to happen, but they both had deployment orders. And until they could find daycare, or not daycare, actually someone to take care of the children, we were it.
And you do have a registered nurse on your staff all the time? Okay.
Yeah, at all times.
Is that a requirement by
Yes.
being licensed?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a difference between licensed and non-licensed as well?
No.
Aren't you glad I don't know any of this stuff that I have to ask these questions?
No, they're good questions. To provide the services we do now, if you take pay to provide home care services, it has to be licensed in the state of North Carolina now.
Okay.
So it encompasses everything. When our first 7 years, we didn't have to be licensed.
Right.
They changed the requirements. The best thing that ever happened to us is we opted for also doing personal care.
Okay.
And it expanded our potential client base.
Okay. So if people want to reach you, they can call you at 944-1116.
Yes.
Or would you recommend they reach out to your website?
Either or.
And that website address?
www.hchoicenet.com.
Okay.
Or Facebook page. There's links either site.
Okay. This is Moore County is a small community, and good news travels fast. Bad news travels even faster, right?
Yeah.
But you guys are you're well positioned in the area. The demographics are in your favor, and I appreciate the expose you provided today. I'm glad I didn't know a lot of this information, because I get to ask questions that sometimes people in the public will want to ask but don't. And you try to answer some of them in your brochure as well. We appreciate you both coming in. Veronica, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you for coming. And we hopefully will see you down the road. And I've learned a lot today just by listening to both of you speak.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to share the good news.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
This is All Things Moore County. Everybody have a great week. Thank you.